This week, Kade, Amy, and myself donned our red shirts to boldly go where no man has gone before, the cinema, to catch the latest deep space voyage of the intrepid Starship Enterprise. In other words, we watched Star Trek Beyond, directed by Justin Lin from Fast and Furious fame, and surprisingly not starring Vin Diesel, which is interesting. This movie has gotten some pretty good reviews, but we're going to do what we do and break down all the pros and cons of the latest from Kirk, Spock, and the rest of the Enterprise crew. And yes, there will be spoilers.
And we might actually put a time note in because some awesome guy on Twitter said you should actually put some time notes in because I don't like all the shit you talk about. Obviously referring to Outcast.
Well, obviously. Yeah. What else could it possibly be? But yeah, that's a very good idea. We will do that because this will be full of spoilers.
Yep.
The movie hasn't been out for that long. So if you haven't seen it, you can still listen and skip this bit and come back to it when you have.
Yeah.
So that's nice, isn't it? That's very nice of us. So what we'll do is we'll talk about some pros and cons. We'll go through the pros first.
Yeah.
I think we'll just do like a bit of a free-for-all this week.
Actually, wait. I hate to put you on the spot here, but have we had any numbers of this movie?
No. Look, from what I saw, I'm pretty sure it had hit about 70 million domestically.
Yeah, right.
So in the US.
Is that opening weekend?
No, it's not. It's not on its opening weekend. It was a little bit softer than that.
Yep.
The only thing I can remember just off the top of my head is that when you're looking at the 5-day total between this and Into Darkness, this sat quite a bit behind.
Really?
So Into Darkness had a much better 5-day opener. And yeah, but it's only first weekend / 1 week, so we'll see what happens.
And it is out against some other good movies at the moment, so...
Yeah, what else is out at the moment?
Tarzan.
Tarzan.
There's Ghostbusters. There's Finding
Ghostbusters.
Dory. You know, we spoke about this. All the families don't have huge budgets to spend on movies. So
Yeah, so they got to pick and choose.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And is there a perfect time to release a movie?
Summertime in the US.
and
isn't
just not any time near a Pixar movie.
it? Well, yeah, that's
You're
true.
doomed.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Let's get into some pros.
Yeah. Do you want to kick us off?
I will. So for me, I guess the biggest thing that stood out for this movie is visually it was spectacular. I think it's, it doesn't take long before you start to see the Justin Lin effect.
Yes.
Like his camera work is brilliant at times. I think the whole thing, like, it's fast, it's frenetic. The initial scene with the swarm attacking the Enterprise is pretty epic.
That swarm was the best. Like, it was just amazing.
Yeah, it was unreal. And one thing that I loved about this movie was there was zero lens flares.
Yeah, that is true. But you can really tell that this is a very, very well versed action director.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, because the movie itself, like, just it was shot beautifully, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And look, for me, I was one of the original fan, not the original fans. I was one of the few fans, I guess, of Into Darkness, because this is a movie. It's not that it didn't have a lot of fans. It was very divisive between fans.
Yeah.
Some people thought it was way too dark for a Star Trek film. I thought it was great. I thought the whole thing was good. I thought Khan as a villain was excellent.
Yeah, so did I.
Okay, so maybe I'm not the only person.
No, you've at least got maybe one or two others.
Yeah.
I did like the first movie, yes.
The second one.
Second.
Whatever.
Whatever, man. I'm not here for my facts.
Yeah, jeez. You know I don't fact check.
But for me, this movie in particular had that real classic Star Trek vibe. So not so much like the rebooted movie vibe. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, looking back to the original TV show.
Yeah, like how everyone was. It was almost like they were a family.
Yeah, there was much
the
more
Brady
closeness.
Bunch of space.
Yeah.
But like way cooler than the Brady
Yeah.
Bunch. But yeah, you really get a sense of the camaraderie of the team. You really get a sense of, like, it's just classic fun for me. That's the best way I can sort of put it. Yeah.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. One thing I really liked about this movie was the humor.
Yeah.
We got Getting More Bones.
Oh,
That was fantastic.
That was one of the best things.
Yeah,
I
he
think.
was, like, so sorely missed in the earlier movies because he's funny as fuck, and he's not trying to be funny.
yeah.
You know?
Well, that's exactly it.
Yeah, he's just a grumpy prick.
Yeah.
And everybody loves.
And I
Carl
can
Urban
relate.
is great, man.
He is. He's fantastic. And the interaction between him and Spock.
Yeah.
I could just watch a movie of those two.
Oh, yeah.
They should get their own like sitcom.
Yeah, that would be great.
Spock and
Hilarious.
Bones.
Spock and Bones.
Perfect Strangers.
Yeah,
the
well-
reboot.
Their dynamic was my everything.
Was
Yeah.
it?
It was.
Your everything? That's lovely.
Well, Spock with his deadpan logic.
Yep.
And Bones with his stupid level of sarcasm.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two bounce off each other, and it's fantastic.
And I think if you had one without the other, it'd be almost too much of one side.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, for me personally, you can't get enough Bones.
Nah,
No.
I agree.
In particular, Carl Urban.
Yeah.
Let me point that out.
Yeah, he's always like on the borderline of cracking the shits about
Oh
something.
man, always.
And I can relate to that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I think what brings this humor together. So I spoke about the Justin Lin effect.
Yes.
Is the Pegg effect.
Yep.
So the Simon Pegg effect, because he is one of the main writers of the script.
Yeah, and I didn't find this out till the movie actually finished.
Yeah, but while the script we'll get into a little bit later, not so much the script but the story, you really get a sense that this guy has spent a lot of time with these people. He knows these guys well.
Yeah.
And I think the writing comes across like that. The interplay between the two in particular is pretty good, as well as the interplay between Jayla and
Montgomery Scotty.
Yes, Scotty, of course. Simon Pegg himself.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even, Kirk and Chekhov and all that sort of stuff. Like, yeah, it works really well.
Yeah. We've already touched on her, but, we got our introduction to Jayla.
Yep.
And she kicks some major ass in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I really like the character.
If you were saying that the camaraderie between Spock and Bones was your everything, she was my everything in this movie. Like, she made the movie for me.
Yeah, really?
Really?
Yeah, I loved every scene she was in.
Right.
Everyone. I was waiting for her to come back on the screen. I was like, what's she going to do? What's she going to say? Her broken English, everything.
Yeah,
Great.
it was good. I think it's disappointing that she didn't get a little bit more of.
She could have been in a lot more of that. Yeah.
Yeah, like a little bit, like everything. It's kind of like she was kind of there for action scenes.
Yeah, that was really
Yeah.
it.
Do you know what I mean? And that's fine. But she was very kick-ass. She looked great.
Yeah, she looked amazing.
Yeah. And the fact that she was listening to Fight the Power by Public Enemy
yes.
was cool as shit.
Damn, I was done. Put a fork in me.
Again.
Just a music selection.
But she had some pretty cool toys as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, toys are devices.
Yeah, like weapons and things like that.
Yeah.
She was
booby traps and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was just awesome.
She was cool. So that's definitely something.
Yeah.
But look, here's something that I wanted to point out. The fact that we get to see Anton Yelchin as Chekhov one last time, I think is great, and I think they gave him not that it is a farewell for him, because obviously no one knew what was coming.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that he was given so much more to do in this movie in particular, I think is great, because you get a sense of like how well he does the character.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
He was almost played. Well, he was played off as a hero in this movie, and
Yep.
you're going to get a more fitting send off.
Yeah.
Than that.
Yeah. Bit of a womanizer, but definitely a hero, which is good. It's going to be hard to go on to Star Trek 4 without him.
Yeah.
They cannot recast.
No, absolutely not. They have to retire the character.
Yeah.
They have to come up with a good way to sort of to officially send him off. And apparently, and this actually shits me to tears because we didn't stay. There was a post-credit scene.
No.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah,
I thought for sure there wouldn't be. I was like,
No,
they're
Oh, wait.
rolling.
Was this like a big green hand?
No.
What was it?
I'm sure that's what
was
I
it?
read.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. It might have been, but I think from what I read, I read it was almost like a little tribute to him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, bummer.
But
I did see that it sort of flashed up and said for Anton at the end.
No, it's an actual
Okay.
scene.
Okay.
But I honestly don't know too much more than that, other than the fact that us idiots who always sit to the very end didn't sit to the very end.
Yeah. Well, it was late.
Actually, you know what? We also missed the Ghostbusters end credit scene too.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really sort of matter too much, apparently, in the grand scheme of things.
No, because that definitely won't be getting a sequel from the numbers it's been getting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
You never know. once it makes budget.
Yeah.
Mate, if it took, and we're not here to talk about Ghostbusters, but if it took those initial reviews, right, on, say, IMDb, and it managed to crawl back up anywhere near a 6, which it has, like from where it was sitting, like, there's some love out there for it. And there's certainly some love for Anton Yelchin, which is good. I think the final scene, or one of the final scenes, kind of had Kirk riding a bike on the planet, kind of like acting as a bit of a distraction, with some of Jailer's booby traps attached to his bike.
So cool.
I thought that was pretty cool. Some of the CGI was a little bit shoddy in points.
I didn't think the CGI was too bad. I just think the logistics of having a motorbike on a spaceship that's 100 years old...
That still works.
Yeah. Okay.
Here we go.
And I'm sure we'll get to this at some point.
Because...
Kade.
No. Let me have this. I have to say it now because it's on my brain.
Okay.
The ship that they get into, that's, 100 years old as well, could only take off when it's in space.
Yeah.
Why on earth would they have a fucking motorbike on that?
Well, obviously, because they at some point dock, don't they?
Dock where?
Like in places... Like, I can't even remember the name of the place that they docked at in this movie.
Yorktown.
Yeah, so like that. And
but this is ancient technology.
It's 100 years ago. Do you understand? That makes it like 2166.
Yes.
Which is still well into the future.
It's really old when you think about that.
Well, it did, but I mean, we have nothing now that looks anything like it.
No.
So, you want to pick on the logic of them having a motorbike on there, but you don't want to talk about the fact that maybe how the fuck did they get this 100-year-old spaceship working?
Mate, I was getting to that.
Well, that's why I thought we'd get there.
We are
eventually.
still in the pros.
We're technically in the pros.
Okay.
My whole point to this was, right, and this is my whole point. It's not so much that it was logically
unsound.
Yeah, it's the fact that it was very fun, and it was very much it's something that you would expect Captain Kirk to do.
Yeah.
It's a very, very Star Trek-y thing, and probably one of the more Star Trek-y things that these guys have sort of done.
Yeah, it's that whole fun approach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And for me, and speaking on that, Chris Pine. As well, I knew it was coming at some point.
Yep.
But Chris Pine is he is a fantastic Captain Kirk.
Yeah, he kills it.
He's starting to slowly start to show those little sort of homages to to William Shatner's Captain Kirk with there's a couple of times with the way he speaks in certain points and things like that. He's starting to really sort of pull from that, and that's kind of leading to the maturity of the character, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
One thing that I really liked about this movie was the pacing as well.
Yeah.
We were, excuse me, balls deep into the action on this movie, and it didn't feel like it was rushed.
Yeah, I really liked that. They went out and then they were going to inspect this other planet or whatever through the
nebula.
Yep, and then bam, straight into it.
Yeah, it was good. It was very quick into the action. I guess that's another Justin Lin trait. If you've seen any Fast and Furious movie, it's light on story, heavy on action.
Yep.
And that's not to say that he does the story or anything like that. I understand there's a difference between a director and a writer and all that sort of stuff. But it's definitely his effect. The movie flowed really well.
It did.
Yeah.
Excluding a couple of things, which I'm sure we're about to talk about.
Oh, yes.
Here we go.
Well,
is everyone done with their pros? Though?
I think so. I think we've really covered everything that you want to. We can just keep going, keep rambling.
Yeah,
but
I just want to say that it was just a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
I really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, definitely. How long was the movie? It was over 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah, felt like half an hour.
I know.
It was bloody
I love
great.
movies that do that where you're not like, shit, I've been in here for an hour.
The only thing with it is it almost makes me feel like it could have offered me more then.
Yeah, well, maybe.
But then does it spoil it?
Never know.
Is the grass always greener?
Never. I also thought it went really well, all that sort of stuff. I did get called out for tweeting during the movie, which is fantastic. But I swear to God, I was paying attention.
Yeah, and to be fair, there was us and 2 other people in there.
There wasn't a... Yeah, that's something, and, we're getting into our cons, so let's, we can talk about some negative things now if we want. It was for a movie that has only just sort of been released, because literally it had only been out for 4 days when we saw it in Australia, and the cinema was empty.
Yeah, I saw it last night, and there was 5 people plus me.
Damn.
Yeah, so there you go. It's it's worrying signs, and I know it's not that type of movie that's going to get everybody in, but it is kind of a movie that everybody could watch if they just gave it a chance. You don't have to be a Star Trek fan to enjoy this type of movie.
My husband doesn't like Star Trek at all, and I was like, "You're coming to this movie because I'm going to see it, and I don't want to sit by myself."
Yeah.
And he really enjoyed it. He was like, "That was great."
Oh, there you go.
Well, no expectations.
Exactly.
Yes.
He'd never even seen a trailer.
Star Trek Beyond has a glowing reference.
Yeah, I'm
going
to make him put it on
Reese.
there.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some cons.
Yeah.
I'll let you kick this.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah,
I'm going to
you?
start with what I think is the biggest one. And again, we're full spoilers if you haven't gathered already. So if you're at this point and you're like, oh, maybe I can get away with some stuff, you can't now. Because we are going to ruin everything. Idris Elba as Kral, whatever his name is. I didn't even care. I didn't even care to find out what his name is. How are you going to use an actor like Idris Elba, and then you're going to make him so unrecognizable that you can't even draw on his star power, and then give him such a villain that has no depth?
So mediocre.
Like, so mediocre. It's... like his first scene, when you first see him, when the swarm attacks the Enterprise, and his pod busts in and he just drops in, and that was cool. Like, and you're like, okay, maybe like this is gonna be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But then from then, it's just nothing.
Do you know? I did not even know that it was Idris Elba.
Really?
I didn't know.
No, I'm with you on that, because even when he got turned back to his
He
human
looked
form,
different.
I was
He
like,
looked weird.
I was kind of like, is that Idris?
Does no one pay attention to the movies before they come
No,
out? Like,
I try to
everybody
stay
knew
away
that, like,
from them.
Idris Elba was cast in this movie, surely.
Nah.
No. And the,
Well,
and
okay.
the thing is,
Well, that's fine.
when he
That's fine.
turned more human, I guess, I was sort of second guessing myself. Like,
Yeah.
is it him? And then I waited till the credits, and I was like, holy shit, it was him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I went in full knowing that it was Idris Elba.
Maybe that's why you could not pay attention to something.
Yeah, maybe.
See?
Look, because to me it was just, think of it like this. Think of Eric Bana's Nero from the first movie.
Yeah.
A very, very carbon copy villain. It's just very generic.
Yeah.
And, you take the star power of Idris Elba and then you shoehorn him into a character that has almost literally nothing to do until the end of the movie. It just, for me, like, it didn't work. It didn't work for me at all.
That was my pet peeve of the whole movie.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I really didn't like about this Kral character is and tell me if this is just me, but I didn't understand his ability to live for ages.
Yeah, how
'Cause
did he
he's
develop
over
that?
100 years old. Is it the alien technology? Is it his ability to regenerate his human form? Did they explain like anything? Because it's just like he's old.
Yeah.
As fuck.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe that's why, maybe he just hasn't moisturized for a while, and that's why it looks,
Maybe.
and what he's doing when he's grabbing the human's head is he's getting their moisturizer and he's putting it on his own face.
Well,
and slowly.
wetness
Maybe it's
is the essence of
Maybelline.
beauty.
It is. It is.
Thanks, Derek.
But so they did explain that it was some sort of it was the alien technology that was left on the planet that allowed them to live as long as they had. It also caused them to turn into these, whatever they're called. I don't even know what they're called.
I don't
Yeah.
understand then how he was human at the end.
Well, and that's the point that I don't get.
Yeah.
I don't understand how he was kind of using the human life essence,
Yeah.
as it were, to revert himself back into his human form.
Is it like he's got chameleon properties? He just makes himself look how he wants to look?
Yeah, and I guess
but there was definitely something happening in the sense of like what he was doing to to the crew of the Enterprise that was affecting his appearance, because every single time he touched one of them, he changed slightly.
Yeah, that's true.
And, started to look more and more human.
No, sorry, you go.
But then I was going to say, if he's lived this long and now looks like this scaly lizard, how did he get to that point and be like, I've used up all, how did I live this long and be a lizard and now I'm going to go back and be a human again?
Well, I think it's all part of his master plan. His plan in the end, like you can't just rock up as a big scaly lizard looking dude to Yorktown and just go, well, I'm going to unleash this virus because people will see you a mile away.
Technically he could.
Everybody looks weird in Yorktown.
No, but like not that weird.
There was a bitch's claws open. Ooh.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm getting very into it now.
Yeah. Look, I think we're trying to find logic where there is none.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. And I don't think they explained it. But if they did, let us know, like by all means, like if you have the answer, like let us know what it was, because we saw it once. And in that one sitting, it didn't explain itself. If we have to look deeper, we have to look deeper.
Yeah.
But I think that's something where you probably shouldn't really have to look too deep.
Now, I'm just going to point out like a little bit of... This is a pet peeve of mine.
Yep.
He had an accent.
Yeah.
But he could speak normal English, right?
How do you mean?
Before.
When he came to his human form, he could speak normally.
Yeah.
When he was Krull...
He had broken English.
Yeah, broken English.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, maybe he's an alien. He's not part of the... He doesn't understand the English language as well, but... it didn't make sense just having bloody talk normally.
But do you remember when Uhura initially meets him and he speaks to her and she says, "Oh, you speak our language," and he's like, "I've been exposed to it." So
But he's from Starfleet.
But my point is, like, he obviously understands the language, but as part of this mutation or whatever, like whatever that's happened, perhaps it affects his ability to, maybe
speak English words.
Well, no,
he does
like
speak another language though.
Yeah,
like when
exactly.
He's in that
So,
form.
like, it's the alien technology. Is the alien technology turning them into whatever that alien race was?
Yeah, maybe.
So it's
Logic again.
Yeah, logic.
Logic. Talking about logic, leaving his motives to the very end was a mistake, I think.
Yeah.
How it was just last 10 minutes of the movie, this is what I'm doing.
Like, I like to be kept guessing a little bit
Yep.
in movies, but I was like, oh, where is this going?
Yeah.
What's happening? And then bam, straight at the end, everything happened and then he was gone.
Yeah.
And he knew everything.
Yeah.
How to do everything.
Yeah. It's one of, from start to finish with this guy, it was handled really poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't really get a clear understanding of what he wanted until, like, you're right, until right at the end. And then you kind of understand that, okay, like, he used to be a captain of the Starfleet, and, basically got abandoned on this planet once they crashed.
Yep.
Felt betrayed.
Yep. He also felt betrayed because he fought so many wars prior to,
Yeah, he was a veteran.
Yeah. Everything sort of being established, that he felt kind of to be just given a cushy captain's job. It's like, I don't know. I don't know.
He didn't like it
Yeah.
anyway.
But the whole thing is just, it's kind of, it's just, why leave it to the last 20 minutes to kind of reveal what's happening?
Yeah.
It just didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
His whole character, I think everything revolving around him was probably one of the downfalls.
Yeah.
If we're going to say that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, with this character, I never felt there was a threat.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Even the people who were held captive, they never seemed like they were in any real danger.
I did get scared when I thought he was going to kill Sulu. That really nearly broke my heart.
Yeah, I would agree with you in the sense that, there was never any real threat.
Yeah.
But we'll move on.
Yeah,
We've
let's move on.
Let's
Let's
spoken
move
enough
on.
about Krull, because we can talk about the whole story, the story as a whole, really.
Yeah.
I think it's very what this movie has in its visual presence and its fun. It lacks in what is a an actual original story. Everything is everything has been done before.
It's rehashed.
We've seen it. We've seen it a million times. It's like they're out. They come back home. Then it's kind of like, oh, we've got to go back out again. All shit,
hits the fan.
And then it's kind of like, oh, here's an easy solution about how we fix it. And then off they go.
Yeah.
I guess if I'm going to point out a couple of things specifically, I really want them to stop destroying the Enterprise.
Please.
Seriously.
And it's always such a massive scene in any of these movies when they destroy the Enterprise. I'm like, shit, I saw this last movie. It's the exact same scene almost. It's
literally,
just crashing into different
happened
places.
into darkness.
Yeah.
And
And
do
everyone
something different.
yeah.
Like we get it. Like we understand the importance of this ship. And maybe what they're trying to do is like maybe they're saying that the ship is not what's important. It's the crew that's on it. But like just do something different. Like we don't need to. Like I think it's like the 6th or 7th time or something that the Enterprise has been destroyed in the movies that have been released. But out of the 3 that have like come out since 2009. It's happened twice.
Can you imagine their insurance premiums? That'd be
it'd be crazy.
Nobody would insure them.
It would be crazy.
Let's be honest.
But the biggest thing for me is the fact that, like we touched on it before, the ship's been there for like 100 years, and every single little thing that goes wrong is a very, very, very easy fix.
Yes.
Yeah. Scotty's got that down. He can just get that. He can get it flying in no time.
Even to the point when you initially, like when the Enterprise has crashed and Chekhov and Kirk make their way back to it, and it's kind of like, oh, can you get the lights up and all that sort of stuff? It's like, yes, I can.
Let me just turn the light button on.
There's the light switch
Which
is
still
just
has
down
power
here.
and everything.
Yeah,
even though it's just crash landed.
It totally
from
works
space.
perfectly. So that to me was very like, there's the fact that they can get the ship even operational.
Like
that
the
was
thrusters working, flipping it over.
It is just a bizarre amount of coincidences that they get off this planet.
Yeah, even to the point where it's kind of like everything works.
Yes.
Every single little thing on this ship that has been there for so long that rock has formed around like the thrusters or whatever at the back. Not the thrusters, but whatever those
jets,
2 little tailpipe things at the back are. Like rock has kind of formed around that because once they turn everything on and they engage, it kind of like breaks all the rock apart and like all that sort of stuff. Like that's how long it's been there for. Yet every single little thing is an easy fix. And to me, that was just, it's just no.
Yeah.
There's no real danger.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess Jayla is pretty switched on. And she's been on that ship for how long?
But it's not necessarily her that does everything.
No, and that's what I mean. Like, she's been there so long. Like, surely she would know the stuff. But Scotty just comes in and like, I'm going to fix this.
Yeah.
Bam.
And I know that these guys are supposed to be the best of the best and all that sort of stuff. But it just seems very, very convenient the way they fix everything. And the biggest thing for me, and this is either you are either going to love this or you're going to hate it.
Is this the biggest coincidence in the movie?
Well, it's how they effectively destroy the swarm.
Yes.
Right? So what it boils down to is they get the idea that they're all flying in perfect like
sync and harmony.
Yeah, because they have this, they're all running on the same frequency or whatever. So that's how they can swarm so effectively and not crash into each other and be such a powerful force. So they figure out the way that they can disrupt this is to disrupt it by basically blasting like a loud noise and disrupting that frequency, and they decide to do it on VHF, which is the only thing that this ship has apparently, or it has VHF, which is the only thing that the swarm wouldn't be able to pick up.
Yeah.
Now, it was cool as shit.
It was.
Right, to have the Beastie Boys again with Sabotage blasting. The whole scene was done really well. Like Kirk even, like with a little bit of a smirk and, he's like, great choice. And, it's a throwback to when you heard it in the first movie and stuff like that. Like it's fantastic, but it's just another really, really easy fix.
Yeah, and it's not really explained like how it affects the ship. Yeah, it disrupts their they're tracking or whatever. But the ships, they seem like they just
Explode.
Yeah. Do they fly into each other?
Yeah.
They really seemed pretty indestructible at the start of this movie when they're flying through the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're kamikaze pilots or not, but they're coming out the other side.
Yeah, well, that's another thing I was going to say. When they ultimately destroy the last 3 ships, they just fly straight into the Enterprise. Weren't they doing that the whole movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it needed to happen, but like
To me, the way I looked at it, or the way I saw it, was that basically they lost their swarm
Yeah.
capabilities, and they crashed into each other and they exploded and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
But again, it's just very convenient.
Yeah.
And it's the throwback to the earlier bit with the fight the power and all that sort of stuff. I thought it was very funny, the way that I think it was Bones referred to it as like classical music and stuff like that, which was cool, and the whole scene was cool.
I loved the scene.
And this is my overall problem with the movie, is that it all looked really, really good, but the substance just wasn't there.
Yeah. I'm going to nitpick here.
Yeah.
okay.
The technology in the ship
Yep.
seemed like it was from an old ass boat.
Yeah.
Green screens for everything.
Yeah.
Come on. When was this? Did this shit go out? 2100?
Yeah,
It had
basically.
like
we'll
DOS
say.
box on the thing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, come on. The screen I'm looking at right now is more high tech than that.
Yeah, that's
2016,
that's
guys.
that's a
Jeez.
fair point.
It's-
It's a good 150 years into the future.
Exactly. I'm sure the screen will get a lot better than
Yeah, I'm
some
pretty sure it
green.
will. Yeah, you're right.
Maybe they're just using it as a symbol, I guess, to show you, it's old. It's old as shit, but we still made it work.
Yeah.
Does that mean like Star Trek's in an out of time?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Kind
Not
of thing?
in sync.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They are well known for doing time travel.
Yeah, well, that's true. But maybe we just need to look at it like, again,
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Logic.
Okay, so are we happy to move past the story and Kral and all that sort of stuff and just
I had one
knock out a
last
couple of
thing.
little things? But yeah, what do you got?
Which it was the end fight scene, I guess. I always have this issue with movies that do this.
Oh, yeah.
So the end fight scene between Kirk and Kral.
Yep.
So Kirk walks in, Kral's back is turned, he's climbing a ladder. He's all dopey and shit, falling over.
Yep.
He shoots him. Kral's lying on the ground, and then they spend like 10 minutes having a good old chat.
Yeah.
And before you know it, boom, the bad guy's up. He's about to blow up Yorktown. And now you've got to find this amazing escape again. Like, I get that it makes really good drama.
Yeah.
And it was cool as shit to see like Spock and Bones catching Kirk as he's about to fly out into space.
Yeah.
But it just really irritated me because I felt it went too long.
Yes.
That bit.
Yeah. So here's what you do. So you disable the bad guy,
Yes.
right? And then you save the day, and then you
have
come
a chat
back,
to him.
and then you have a lecture,
Yeah.
and say this is why it all went wrong.
Yeah.
You
And
bloody dickhead.
Yeah, and you should
Yeah.
like relook at your motives and rethink your whole life.
Yeah.
Instead of having that conversation
When it's
before
like
you stop the
D-Day.
threat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when it's counting down.
Yeah.
And it makes me anxious. I'm like, oh my God, just
Just do
Do
it.
it.
And movie minutes and seconds are so much
oh,
longer than...
yeah, real
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my last annoyance.
But that's fair. I think that whole the whole ending of it was wrapped up way too neatly.
Yeah.
It had its cool moments.
Oh, it
for
was
sure.
it was all really cool, but I had little bits that sort of just irritated me a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, the whole part with them like effectively flying around in the gravitational slipstream and stuff like that. I thought it was cool. You're shaking your head.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
Oh, no, I thought it was cool. But
If
how
you
did
had-
Krell know about this?
Well, he saw
Like-
the glass floating
Yeah.
behind him and was like,
He's
well,
a smart dude. He's a Starfleet captain.
he's got nothing
Well-
to lose. He's going to jump into it and see where it takes him.
Can I just say, if you saw shards of glass,
I would not be diving into it.
it's like, oh, let's go where the glass is.
And I cut up my face
for
and
sure.
everything.
All
Anyway.
right. Okay, so
Story done.
a story done.
Story done.
Story done. Kral done.
Yeah.
Two biggest downfalls, but unfortunately, the two biggest things of the movie. I had a couple of other things.
Okay.
So one for me is that, and so I'll talk about this one first. So Sulu. So the big reveal that Sulu is gay.
Oh, how political.
Well,
I loved it.
yeah, it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
it's great. But with the deal that was made, the
yeah.
big deal that was made about how they were going to do it, and, Star Trek was going to have its first gay character, was really just sort of like swept under the rug with kind of like a little bit of a hug. And did they kiss? I can't even
No.
remember.
No, well, that they were supposed to, but the scene got cut.
Yeah, so like,
I don't understand why they find it necessary to publicize that so much.
Well,
like, is it such a draw? Like, if people see that, they're just going to be like, yeah,
cool. Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Awesome. Good for you,
Well,
Sully.
one of the things the TV show did, and it was a real oversight from everyone who ever watched it, not many people noticed it, is that they're so far advanced as a civilization that this doesn't matter. There's there's no boundaries of sex.
Yeah. Interracial.
Yeah, interracial, religion,
terrestrial.
Interterrestrial.
Different heads.
And if you watch some classic episodes of Star Trek, you will actually see male cast members walking around wearing dresses because there's no segregation.
Yeah, and that's great. Which kind of like, I'm not asking for a big grand gesture or a big grand reveal or something like that. But it's, if you're going to make a big deal out of it,
exactly,
then kind of make a big deal out of it, or give it the respect that it's due, or don't mention it and just have it as that kind of side thing.
I would prefer the latter.
Yeah,
and don't mention it.
Yeah,
like where you said it's just kind of like, oh, cool, there you go, and
then, for you.
Everyone just moves on.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't bring such big drama.
And I think a lot of productions now do that. They draw on things that people think will be controversial because they get more interest, I guess.
Let's just point out the fact that that's not necessarily the movie's fault.
No,
because
not
it's
at
not
all.
The people involved necessarily with the movie who are kind of going, oh, hey, we're going to do
Here's this idea
it's going to be so cool,
yeah.
you guys.
No.
So it's not necessarily directed at them. It's just something that I had a gripe with. Like, you don't make a big deal out of something that's not a big deal.
And I like that
It's 2016
scene.
for fuck's
I thought
sake.
it was good.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
Yeah. The other thing I did have a problem with is a lot of the other characters didn't really have a lot to do.
Yeah.
So you had your main guys, but the rest of them didn't really do much. Zoe Saldana sticks out for me. She is a beautiful, beautiful woman who deserves way much more, so much more screen time than she got.
Yep.
And she's a very talented actress as well.
I felt like when she was on screen, she wasn't really doing much. Like when she's sitting at the do this, blah blah blah. She's sitting there switching a switch or something. She's much more of a deep character than that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think like her role in Into Darkness was a lot better.
Yeah.
But in this one, it was kind of like she was sort of pushed to the back, whereas Jayla was brought to the front. And now all of a sudden we're supposed to care about Jayla as a character when we actually have never had anything to do with her before, nor do we know her backstory, nor do we know anything.
Yeah.
But, and then Uhura is kind of like a second string character in this movie, which is similar to what they did to Bones in Into Darkness. But whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That wraps that up. Do you want to move on to some ratings?
Yeah, we'll do some ratings and an overall wrap up. How about you go first?
I'm going to give this movie, it's a good solid 75.
Yeah.
The thing that lets it down for me is, there's some quite obvious plot holes, some things that needed to be addressed that kind of made me go, nah, come on. Yep. But ultimately, it was a pretty fun movie. Like I said, it went quite quickly. Yep. I felt it could have even went longer, possibly fill in those plot holes. But in the end, I had a good time.
Yep. Amy?
Yeah, I'm probably going to give it an 80.
80?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually really enjoyed watching this movie. There was a couple of things where I got annoyed with, but not enough to overshadow the fact that I was having such a good time watching it and enjoying everything that I was seeing. So, 80 for me.
Cool. For me, now, I don't remember any score I've ever given anything, so I have nothing to judge it against.
How does the numbers man not remember the numbers he gives?
Because I could have given a shitty movie a decent score and not come back. I gave Batman vs Superman 91.
So bizarre.
You gave it 88.
Did I give it 88? Oh, and then I gave the Ultimate Edition 91.
Yeah.
Or something. Anyway.
I like how you're really consistent. It's a strong...
Yeah, it's all over the shop. So ultimately, what I'm trying to say is my ratings mean nothing. But I will say this. I would probably give it anywhere between a 75 to an 80.
Yeah,
for sure. For me... It's a lot of fun. And we have had some gripes with it, but that does not take away from the fact that it is a very enjoyable movie.
Exactly.
It's a very enjoyable movie that pays a lot of respect to the original series. One thing we didn't talk about is the fact there's a couple of little things that happen. You get to see the original crew at one point in a little photo, which is awesome. You do get a little bit of a little tribute to Spock, to Leonard Nimoy as well, in a sense. But I think ultimately what this movie does is it really it gives you characters that you really actually give a shit about. Give a shit about to the point that you will go on a podcast and talk for half an hour about how some of them didn't get screen time and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. So this movie to me was really, really fun, and it's really enjoyable, and you should get out there and see it for sure.
Mm-hmm. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did this movie have enough heart for you?
It did. It did.
Very hearty.
It was hearty, full of... It had... look, in all honesty, it probably didn't, because I think a lot of it was built around the visual and the fun aspects and all that sort of stuff.
So on a scale of 0 to Notebook, what are we talking?
I see. Because me personally, I would have Notebook at 0. The scale would start at Notebook and it would go to
Marley and Me.
Marley and Me. Oh my god, yeah, that's a perfect one.
Yeah.
So on a scale of Notebook to Marley and Me, it's a solid Ghost.
Right. Good. That's a good choice.
Yeah, a good 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So get out to the cinemas, see the movie. Let us know what you thought of it on Twitter.
Yes.
Because none of us are super huge Star Trek nerds.
Why? I'm a fan.
Well, you do have an outfit.
Exactly.
Do you
have 2 outfits.
Yeah.
Why aren't you wearing it?
Well, yeah, actually, that's a very good point.
Damn.
Actually, I'll show you some photos.
Okay,
I have a red
great.
shirt and a blue shirt, but whatever.
Yeah.
We're not talking about me here.